stream is cleared for takeoff. Hello, hi everyone, welcome to the Danger Zone, or as we call it, our monthly dev Q&A. We are so happy to be here. I know I had to start out with something cheesy. My name is Jane. I am the Senior Community Manager for Microsoft Flight Simulator. Great to see you. Below us here we have our three, they're not guests, they're here every time, so our three devs for Microsoft Flight Simulator. Of course, first, Jorg Newman.
Hi, good to see you all.
Glad you could join us. And in the middle, we have Sebastian Vlach.
Hi, I'm Sebastian, head of Asobo. Good to see you all.
Thanks, Seb. And we have Marcel Boussard as well.
Hi. Very nice to be with you tonight.
Thank you. And just want to say a quick shout out. Thank you, Flying Fabio, for that raid. Welcome in, everyone. We're just getting started here. We have a lot to go over, just a few housekeeping notes. We're going to have two different Q&A sessions today. We're going to start out with some news and announcements first, and then head off to that first Q&A. So if you could hold your questions till then, or till the second Q&A, which will be later towards the end. We anticipate this will be about 60 to 90 minutes long, just as an FYI. All right, so let's go ahead and kick it off here. Jorg, I think you get the spotlight first.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted that. So last time we met, I think it was April 26th. And as I was thinking about today's meeting, I was just looking back what has happened. And man, what a month it's been. So I put a few slides in. I think it's quite possibly one of the most exciting months, really, for lovers of complex aircraft. I don't know, maybe ever. So let's look back just a little bit. So on April 29th, Just Flight, it started with that, like 2 days after our Q&A. Just Flight released the BAE 146 Professional, real milestone. A day later, Leonardo released Fly the Mad Dog X. A few days later, Milvis released the excellent Cessna 310R, which you guys probably don't know this, but we had that in development, and it's the Milvis one is so good that we stopped our development. So that plane is covered. Awesome job, Milvis. Then 4 or 5 days later, PMDG launched the 737-700, and Robert talked about all the upcoming cool stuff that is coming from them. Then on the 19th, Phoenix Simulations launched its A320, and when I read the forums and what I hear from the team is maybe one of the best releases of all time. And then a day later, Lefteris, that made me very happy. Lefteris announced that Flight Sim Labs is working on lots of things for our sim, including an all-new A330, which is really exciting. So in the past, this might have been a great lineup for like an entire year, and we had all that in a month, which is just incredible. And goodness just keeps coming. A2A, Scott was just talking about how that plane is coming together. Azure Poly, DC Design, Flight FX with a Honda Jet, flying and the Cirrus, Flying Iron, India Fox Echo, Lionheart. I mean, I could go on and on and on. What third parties are working on is really cool, and it's coming out in the next few months. We think we're going to be seeing another 80 to 100 planes just this year, which is really fundamentally awesome. And it's not just the numbers, really. It's the quality that is the key here. And I think the quality is really impressive. And in my view, anyways, and I hope you guys agree, we can argue over it, I think that shows that it really should end the conversation. Is this a platform for real simmers? I mean, just go and play those modules, and they're freaking amazing. So great job, third parties. So thank you for all that. And I think it's all getting better and better and better. And then maybe I just one more thought. So we've been maybe to some of the developers out there. So we have been making updates as we promised every month since launch. So we have 9 sim updates, 9 world updates, an Xbox version, a Game of the Year version, an xCloud version, all this stuff. So 21 updates, 21 months, and it's been super duper busy. And in gaming, you sometimes call this game as a service, and we definitely are one of the most active ones. But I was reflecting upon some of the feedback that some of the third parties are giving us, which is sometimes really cranky. And I just wanted to say, we are game as a service, which is totally different what FSX was, because FSX was mostly a static platform. And in many ways, y'all are also part of the game as a service. So it's super important that when we put a beta out for a sim update, that you test against it. We now have over 2,000 add-ons. 2,152 last time I counted or something. And we are trying to test some of them, but you can't test all of them. It's impossible. So I think this is a reminder. Please spend the time when the sim update beta comes out. Play your module, make sure that we hear if there's anything wrong so we can work on it together. And just the tone, right? Let's keep the tone friendly. This is a hobby. I think we all want to have a good time. I think Asobo is doing an amazing job. The team has been hammering it for the last 21 months. And I think just take a little step back on the human side, and when you say something cranky, what it means on the other side. So that's all I'm really trying to say. Thank you for listening, and hopefully it was not too serious. So that's that. And but today, guys, what are we doing today? Oh yeah.
Oh,
Glasses on. We're entering the danger zone. So we have a trailer. It just launched, and we thought we can watch it here for just a quick minute.
All right, here we go. Awesome. We hope you enjoyed that trailer. People are loving your glasses, guys. You're great aviators. And on that note, though, because we have announced or released Top Gun today, we do have a special guest. Damian, if you'd like to come on. Awesome.
Yeah.
Welcome. Would you mind introducing
Hi,
yourself
everyone.
first? Hello.
So I'm Damien, and I'm a design director at Asobo Studio, and so I'm working on MFS since we started here, basically.
Fantastic. And will you tell us a little bit about your work on Top Gun and take us through some of the activities we can do in the new DLC?
Yeah, with pleasure. So yeah, it's been some time since we've been asked to work on content based on that franchise. That was a really good news for us. And so, as you may know, even if so, yesterday we had the chance to watch the movie at the theater, but at the beginning, obviously, that was not the case. We had no view on the script at all, and so we had to do our homeworks. So we had the chance to have a former jet pilot in the team. So that was the first step to get some insights on what are the expectation for that type of experience. And step after step, we've been able to gather some information from the Paramount a bit, from what they were allowed to tell us, to access some engineers that were working on the aircraft that are featured in the movie. And step by step, we've been able to define the content and the experiences we wanted to expose in the Maverick pack.
Mm-hmm.
And so we can maybe take a look at that precise content in the next few slides. So yeah, loyalty to challenge. So that's one of the main experience we wanted to bring, being able to fly low on the world we do have in MFS. And so we are coming with a series of 5 low altitude challenge. And so basically we'll ask you to fly low as fast as possible in canyons and mountain regions. So we can take a look at a bit the next screenshots. There's the 5 location we've selected were based the same thing on the information we've got from a real life pilot. So they are based on location where real life pilots are used to make those kind of exercise, and so they are all come with different challenges. So some are featuring canyons. You can try to get into to be really low. Some are more mountainy, and so it requires you to go through special maneuver to be efficient to stay low on ground. And so as we'll see here, so we've defined a scoring system that is trying to emphasize the runs that are low to the ground and fast at the same time. And so on that analysis screen, basically that reward screen, we are trying to give you enough information so that you can optimize your path on each of the flights and try to become better and better on flying low alt. So just a fun fact here. So something to validate our work on those low altitude flights. We invited a French pilot to the studio to get feedback on the F-18 and that experience. And during one of its first run, he was able to basically get scores that we barely were able to do at the studio. So
Wow.
that was a good point.
Yeah.
It was super impressive, super impressive.
Yeah, impressive to see how fluid he was with the aircraft, what he was able to perform on the first run, and so that's not something that lies basically. And so we hope that all the people that are versatile with that type of aircraft are going to be able to express themselves in those challenges as well. And then we've set up 3 training flights, we call them, for the people that are not yet at ease with the F-18. It allows to try to better understand what can be done with it, and especially the ridge crossing training is a well-known technique to cross mountains while being able to stay close to the ground. It's also a way to always keep the ground in sight, and so we have something set up for you so that you can practice that and try to then apply it in the altitude challenges. And that's about it here for the altitude challenges. So yeah, that's the setup we decided to go for the training, because even in real life we learned that pilots are used to train into the clouds, because training close to the ground is the danger zone basically, and so they are used to try to use clouds as a reference point to practice, and so that's the setup you're going to be able to try in the ridge crossing exercise. Another novelty with the content pack is the carrier that we are bringing, and so we do have a landing challenge that is happening on the carrier deck, and something here we do have an ILS, a flows system that is available on the carrier, so that you can properly set up your aircraft to land on the carrier deck. So something we are coming with a specific scoring system here to make sure that we give you the clues to stay on the proper flight path to approach the carrier, and also to grab the right wire. In that carrier, we do have 4 wire, and so the best situation to end up on the carrier is to grab the 3rd one. And so you will have this information in the flight we've set up. And yes, the last flight we set up is a stratospheric flight. So same thing with the Maverick content. We are coming with a new aircraft, the Dark Star, which is allowing to take yourself up to the stratosphere. And so what we can see here in the little scheme we have here is the specific procedure we've implemented in the flight, something based on information we've got from engineers. And so that's a procedure that is going to allow you to take that aircraft up to the stratosphere in an efficient manner. And that's going to be also a new way to see the world we do have from above, new point of view that we are not yet showcased that way. But for that, I'll let all the people basically enjoy that directly in game. So that's a shot that is taken for still close from the ground, and there's a lot of wonderful point of view up there that you're going to be able to have during the flight. Just something fun fact. So the flight we've set up is basically starting from the West Coast and ending in Cape Canaveral on the East Coast. And so all of that, it's about 35 minutes to make the flight, basically the climb, the cruise, and the arrival sequence. So that's also something that is jaw-dropping to be able to cross basically the entire United States in such a short time frame. And that's about it for the content pack that is now available for everyone on Microsoft Flight Simulator.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think so. Great. So I think we should. So first off, thank you, Damien. I think it's super fun. We've been playing a ton. We've had a ton of help too. I just wanted to make sure that you guys know this. We had the Dark Star is obviously a fictional plane, but we had access to actual aircraft engineers at the manufacturer that did a plane that looks very similar. Let's put it that way. His name is Spock. And Spock was, I mean, he helped us a ton figuring out what the instruments should be and to give it a real level of authenticity. And then, Damien, maybe you can speak to the pilots we had testing this and what their actual real life is and those things.
Yeah, so so basically we had a French former pilot that had multiple landings on carriers in real life on several different aircraft. And so he's been able to provide us advices on a lot of different domain on what he was experiencing when doing this landing, what he was able to, what was the look and feel. We spent time also to make sure that the choreography of the instrumentation and of the aircraft were properly tuned. So to make sure, for example, that the flows, we saw that he was able to get the same reference point that he had in real life in order to land. And so we literally spent a few hours tuning those elements with him in control until basically he was saying, okay, good, I was good on my parameters, and that was doing the right thing. So yeah, I really like to thank all the people that helped us via their expertise in making that content as real as it gets, basically.
Yeah. So I've seen on the chat that somebody's saying that it won't be like US pilots, but on top of that, so it was like a close relationship we had with the French pilots, and it also actually he also flight with Canadian Air Forces.
Yeah,
nice.
And on top of that, on the team we've got a former Top Gun, right? So
yeah.
it was easier for us to work with a French pilot because we had this direct relationship and quick iteration processes, having him next to us. But on top of that, it has been validated by
the US Navy helped too. I remember at the very beginning, we had some good conversations with them.
We had information about people that share some moment at the Top Gun school as well. It was really interesting to have information on what the people were doing there, what were their behavior, in order to make sure that something that the content we were providing was something good. As we have a few videos ongoing on the training flight, we wanted also to be right on time. So all that was important for us, as it was a new territory for most of the people on our team at Asobo. And again, a great discovery to spend time with all those people and to learn about that aspect of aviation.
Yeah, and I think the one question before you head off, Damien, people are asking, is the aircraft carrier available in free flight?
Yeah, so obviously that's something we want as well. So for us, it was not yet the right time to make sure that it was basically properly fitting with all the rest of the feature and content. But that's definitely something we'll continue to think about. So that at some point.
And is it moving?
Is it moving?
Yeah, is it moving? Obviously, that's a requirement to land on a carrier. Basically, if it stands still, basically you don't have any enough probably facing wind to land properly. So something that's the kind of information we've been able to get, that the an appropriate wind on the deck is around 28 knots. For example, so all of those details we try to make sure we have them properly in game. And as soon as something was not sounding good anyway, that's something we faced directly in the experience, like the landing was too hard or the reference were not good enough. So that's definitely not something we can shit about. So we hope you're gonna be all able to enjoy what is presented there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Damien. We really appreciate you talking about the new DLC. And chat, we do have a thread open in our forums for feedback on it if you'd like to post there. Definitely looking forward to hearing your thoughts. So thank you so much, Damien.
Thank you, everyone. And see you another day. Enjoy the Maverick pack.
Great.
Bye.
Bye. All right. Awesome. Well, we will now move on to our follow-up from last Dev Q&A section here. There's a few items of clarification and updates for you. The first one, I'm going to kick it off to Jorg. We're going to talk a little bit about performance on the Xbox specifically.
Oh, that landed with me. Interesting.
Or anyone else.
Well, I mean, obviously there was something went wrong, and we've had a lot of conversations internally about why and how. And I mean, guys, why don't you jump in real quick and say what exactly happened, and then we can talk a little bit about the consequences of what happened.
For performance stability?
Yeah.
Seb, you're muted.
Sorry, the stability issue on the Xbox update.
On the Xbox, yes. So, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah.
Oh, I can. What happened is that the update system on the Xbox has been changed to perform background updates. When people were doing specific things in the menu, while there was basically while the same data was getting updated. It could occasionally crash, and when it occasionally crashed, if there was another bad luck, it could crash while it was writing some files into the cache on the console, and this could corrupt the crash. So I think this affected a percentage of users. I think relatively quickly we fixed the content on the servers, which was causing the updates, which was causing the crash, which was causing the corruption. So it affected a few users for a few hours, and then it was fixed. But those users, once the cache is basically corrupted, it was very hard to get them out of the corrupt state. So we had to update the exe and 2 times, and then I think because it's not as simple, you can't like on some devices like a phone, when you have a corrupt cache or whatever, you just reinit it and that's it. On the console, it's not that easy because you have bigger downloads and it takes longer. So the issue was fixed, and we shouldn't see it again, hopefully.
Yeah, but let's talk about why we actually did all this. And so we are pretty clear. It's kind of the stuff I said earlier. We're pretty clear that we need to spend a good amount of time flighting sim updates. And in order to, and so in sim update 9, for example, we locked the code a month early, fixed bugs, and then we flighted it for a month. During that month, and we had, I don't know, tens of thousands of people playing. From those people, we never saw this bug. And the bug came in because we are trying to make world updates clientless. So we don't have to update the client, which enables us to lengthen the sim update flighting. That's the actual goal. So we were quite surprised that the background download caused problems. We were very confident because the feedback from the SU9 flight was really good. Then we put it out on Xbox and it really didn't work. And then so within 4 hours stopped the bleed, and then we fixed the bug since then. But that is all just upon reflection. It's just because we're going a little bit too frantic. The update a month, and the team had said that to me for a while, an update a month basically gives us not enough time to really test it. So we try to elongate the time, but even that might not be enough. So we are most likely going to slow down the frequency of sim updates quite a bit. It might also affect the world updates, and with that we're going to get increased stability and more time. And then it's kind of what I said before. Flighting is key. There's no way. I mean, it's kind of like Windows. They don't test every app that exists on Windows. We can't test every add-on there is. It's impossible. There's thousands already. So we just need more time. And so you will see a slight slowdown on our frequency and an elongation of the flights. And then please participate in the flights, and we'll make sure that everything is stable. Hope that makes sense. By the way, apologies that this happened. We feel terrible. I hope you know this. When our sim crashes, we feel very responsible that it's stable. It was completely unforeseen. Otherwise, we clearly would have not shipped it, right? So but more time. Just give us a little bit more time. Hopefully that makes sense.
Great. Yeah, thanks, Jorg, Marcel, and Seb on that question. Moving on to our next clarification question. In the last Q&A, we brought up the high FPS count and GPU load on the sim. Talked about using Vsync to help mitigate it. Some users were already using Vsync, but it kind of maxes out the GPU anyway. So at the core, just to clarify, it was more of an environmental and electricity price issue. So at the moment, if you go to the content manager, the GPU usage does drop dramatically. So we were wondering, is there a way to apply this to the menu or another option to be available to reduce the FPS just in the menus?
Yes, so what we've done is we've added an experimental option, which is going to be in the options menu in the dev mode, and which is going to be called low power mode, I think. When you enable this, your frame rate will drop quite a bit. So we tested it on a few PCs. GPU and CPU usage is divided by 4. So my CPU was 50%. It goes down to 10 or 12%. My GPU went down from 20% to 5%. And my processor, my CPU frequency was at 4.5 gigahertz. It went down to 3, sometimes 2 something. So it really reduces the load a lot. frame rate goes down though. So I was like at 50 or something, and it goes down to 15 to 20. But it's really what it's meant to be, right? A low performance, low economy, like low power mode. It's great if you idle. It's not gonna give you a great experience as in terms of frame rate, etc. But I think the requirement was really, hey, I just want the power to drop for whatever. I don't need extremely high frame rate. This is gonna give you 15 to 20 FPS, but the power consumption is gonna go down a lot. It's not in the sim menu, it's a dev mode menu, because basically anybody can enable it still, but it's experimental. We'll collect feedback if you like it or not, and make it better if it needs tweaks, and then publish it in the next sim update, which comes after. So this is going to be available in sim update 10, and based on feedback, then make it a core option in sim update 11.
Okay, great. Fantastic. Thank you, Seb. On to our next clarification question regarding question on putting runway spawn points at the hold short lines instead of directly on the runway. I know last time we talked about this, Martial.
Yes.
So is this? You mentioned you don't know if we will take the waiting point as a default spawning point, because for newcomers it might be hard to understand that you are not starting the flight in the alignment of the track. So it's something we're talking about. Is there anything you can clarify here about the original question as it's currently planned?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because everybody knows Damien now. So with Damien, we followed the thread on the forum, and there's plenty of good ideas there. And basically putting by default a user in the waiting points, we could prevent those people not to be spawned when you're about to land, which is a good thing. But it's not sufficient, because we are talking about newcomers, we're talking about beginners, and those beginners, they don't know that they've got to follow some procedures and follow some rules, not to go to the track before people are landed. So it won't solve all the solutions. So we are thinking about like a solution in 2 steps. The first one would be to allow some user to be spawned on the waiting point if they want to. But the other solution we would like to bring is another systems to hide people that are on the track when you're about to land.
Yeah.
We're in final, for instance. So it should solve all the situation here. So hey guys, if you've got some other ideas, please note that in the forum on the thread, so we can take the best decision here.
Okay, great. Thanks, Martial. And our last follow-up question, in the last Q&A, there was a question about seaplane water handling improvements. We asked for more details. As more and more seaplanes come out, will we see improvements in this area? And there was a very long, great list provided. I know, Seb, you took a look at that. Wonder if you have an update on that.
Yeah, so it's effectively a long list. So we'll look at it, add it to the backlog. Some of the stuff. So we actually did a iteration pass on water behavior. I think it was end of last summer. So the water plane behavior at MSFS launch was pretty much exactly the FSX water plane behavior. And we did one improvement step last summer. So yeah, we've seen the list of requests. We look at it, and as it's great because it's been broken down into different pieces. We will prioritize and integrate that into updates, future updates. So probably not similar to 10, because that's a bit too short. But starting with 11.
Perfect. Thank you, Seb. I'm seeing some questions in chat and clarifying the low FPS menu. Is that experimental dev option that we plan on coming out with? Will that just affect the menus or everything?
You can turn it on and off whenever you want. In the menu, in the sim, it's an option. It's in the at the top. You turn it on, you turn it off, and whenever you do that, it just reduces the workload on the system a lot. I mean, really a lot. But you lose, obviously. I mean, if we could do that without losing frame rate or quality, we would do it anyway. But you can turn it on and off very quickly, very easily. So if you only want it in the menu, you can turn it on, and then once you launch the sim, you can turn it off. Maybe later, once it becomes an option, we can assign it to a key or something, so that you can easily turn it on and off, or stuff like that. I mean, we're welcome to your feedback. Currently, this is just to see if it actually, I mean, we've tested it on a few PCs. Economy is about 40% load on the system, or divided by 4. We have not had a system where we were at 100% CPU or something, and so I don't know what it says on these systems. But yeah, we can make it more convenient. But yeah, there's no magic way to reduce energy consumption without reducing either frame rate or quality. Quality you can already do in the menus, right? You can reduce the graphics quality, and if your graphics quality goes below, your GPU load will go below the CPU load, and it's going. I mean, your GPU is not going to consume as much.
So
but this really slows down. Yeah.
People are asking why not simply trigger the low FPS mod in the menu. So we've got this option right now. It's going to be tested by you guys. And
you can turn it on off. Oh, you want it automatic?
Yeah.
I mean,
yes.
And some people are going to want it in the cockpit, and some people haven't. That's a bit maybe too much. If it's just a key press, you can turn it on and off very easily. So that's.
So we'll
see what the feedback is.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. But at least that's the option, and you can discover if it's the right way of doing that.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much. All right, that brings us to our Q&A session. One's time chat. Feel free to ask questions. We also have a few pre-selected questions from the forum here we will answer as well. We'll go ahead and start with the first one. This one says, now that Marketplace 2.0 has been released for some time, is the current interface planned to remain static for the foreseeable future, or are other updates planned to introduce new features such as user comments, a top feature section, methods of contacting the developer, invoices indicating the product purchased, or a simpler refunds process?
Well, there's a lot. So Marketplace 2.0, the feedback we've had is actually really positive. And I think people we did a UR test. We actually did a user test. So I think we hear that the UI is better. And then these other things that were just mentioned, I wouldn't expect them, frankly, this year. That team is working on some other infrastructure issues right now. But I think we are aware of all the things that were just mentioned. And I would say most of them are somewhere targeted in 2023. Some of them are sort of a slippery slope, frankly, with long comments. We're not sure that we want to do this, honestly. We think the rating system actually works pretty well. But in general, think about a Marketplace 3.0 somewhere next year, maybe late next year even.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Interesting question here. I don't know if right place to answer, but what is MS doing to help combat piracy for developers?
Okay, who's taking that one? Me? I mean, we have our own.
Oh, I can talk about that if you want.
Go ahead.
So we've got partners that helps us to have several layers of security for this. So for every content that's delivered by our store, there is a kind of DRM. So maybe sometimes people get bothered by that, but at least it helps the people that are creating planes to be protected from wild copies. So it is included by default when the asset is sold in our store. Why that? It's because it's directly linked to the system the store is working, and it's very hard for us to the system that could be used outside of the store. So it's the choice we've been taking.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly the problem, right? So we've talked, plenty of folks that run other stores have asked us if we could extend our copy protection to their stores, and it doesn't really work. So, some of them obviously roll their own, they're more or less successful. Sometimes I look at some of the freeware share sites and stuff shows up ridiculously quickly after it was launched. So it makes me a little bit sad because the developer then, doesn't make any money, right? They poured their heart into these things. Ours is safe, and we have a team that is constantly updating that. For other stores, we don't think we have a solution for them, unfortunately.
Okay. Question from chat. Do we have an update on the issue for Xbox users where the screens, avionics screens, go black during long-haul flights?
So we're still working on that. It's very annoying, and I'm very sorry for that.
Well, we think we have a lead, right?
And sync to memory, and so yeah.
Awesome.
No, I can't. I
Okay.
can't tell more.
Thank you, Martial.
You're
Question
welcome.
number 2.
Would love to get you another answer.
I understand. Let's see. Question number 2 here.
I've seen a
sure.
question interesting.
Sure.
Also for Xbox users about the A320. If it was going to get improvements because Xbox users don't have alternative A320s. And yes, and this is actually one of your questions, like the 3 on your slide, right? We keep fixing small quality of life or bug issues all the time. There has been a few fixes on the A320 on sim update 10, and there is with pretty much every sim update there is fixes on different planes, and yeah, sim update 10 has a few for the A320. And based on feedback we get, if there's issues, we fix them. I think, for example, one is the autopilot nosedive when you are close to flare on final. That's something which has been fixed. There's been fixes on the ground effect, which was making it too floaty. I mean, many little bugs, I would say.
Yep.
I mean, I actually think that there's something to add. We just had a pretty long discussion about that exact topic, the A320, and how far should we push this, right? And I'm seeing in the chat, yeah, Phoenix just did a great one. Fly-by-wire, I think, has done a great job modding. They opted not to come to the Xbox store, which kind of bummed me out, or I think they actually went out of our marketplace altogether for whatever reason. So that's a choice. Should we spend our time doing similar things that they did, or even exceed what they did, or should we move on? That's a good discussion. We at that point in time said there is a freeware version that is great, and if people really want that, they can get that, but it's just on PC. So this is the strategic choice we have to make, and I'm actually quite interested in getting feedback on this. So Jane, maybe we can put something in the forums to get some input.
Sure.
Because it's just, how do we spend our time? Do we go chase some of those things, or do we fix other things? It's just a matter of priority.
Yes, and regarding other planes, we are still working on putting Wasm on Xbox. We're doing some progress here, and hopefully it will come soon. So it will help us to bring in more planes on Xbox.
Yep.
It's a long road.
Absolutely. All right, our next question, what is, from the forums, what is the future improvements for VR pilots?
So I think we talked about that a bit on the last Q&A. So we've decided to change the structures on the VR team. We had a VR team that were doing some VR when we started to work on VR. And why we did that choice, it was because we needed some people dedicated to this way of doing the sim, because it was started from scratch and there was a pretty huge amount of work to do. And now we are thinking that the best way of doing VR is to merge this team and the core team. So that's what has been done during the past months. So now VR is not like another way of doing the sim. It's part of the experience. So if you walk into the offices here, you will see headsets everywhere. So basically, when we're doing a new functionalities, or when we're doing some improvements, whatever the kind of improvements we're bringing, could be UI, performances, new things, VR will be tested once while we are doing the feature. So it has been now considered as a platform. So we are having PC, we are having Xbox, and now we have VR and xClouds. So every time we are doing something, it has to be tested and properly tested and developed using the VR mode. So hopefully this will help us to improve the quality of the VR experience.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Martial.
And we are still working on some improvements, and I think we'll get some good news with the DLSS and the FSR coming soon. No, I don't want to put dates there.
Awesome. All right, third question we have here from the forums. Could you spend more time on fixing very small but annoying bugs? An example here is a set of camera bugs has been frustrating, one of them being the drone camera's undesirable rotation of the Earth, very slight. So can we talk a little bit about how we approach small bugs?
There's actually been fixes of undesirable rotations on the camera with Simulate 9. So maybe there's different things, but we keep fixing small. That's what I said earlier. We have every Simulate brings hundreds of small fixes. Anything that's brought to our attention and filed, and it's, I mean, we're burning through these, and so maybe there's something else on the camera, or other issues. So we do that all the time. Yeah. It's just a report, and maybe, I don't know, maybe some of this doesn't get enough visibility, or is not is further down the road. But yeah, we keep doing that all the time.
Okay, thank you so much, Seb. Interesting question from chat. Will an in-game livery editor ever be coming for Xbox users?
Or any user.
Or any user, yes.
Not the Xbox question. We talk about it. Like, again, if you just reading the chat, some people say, well, just fix the stability issues and whatever perf problems people run into, and then there's new features like this, right? So it's all a balance. We always said this is a 10-year road, so we are at the beginning of that. So do I think of livery editor is cool? Definitely. Do we think this is the highest priority right this moment? Definitely not. so we'll do it at some point, but not right now.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jörg. All right, so we are done with Dev Q&A number 1. We'll do the second one here in a little bit, but I've been seeing this in chat a lot. We do have another guest we would love to introduce.
As promised. Oh yeah, here he is. Da, 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 da.
Hello.
All right, we have Hans Hartman. Welcome, Hans.
Hello.
Would you mind doing, if people weren't around the first time you came on, would you mind doing a little intro on yourself?
Yes, I'm a third-party developer, basically. I've been doing this for 23 years now, and I'm actually very happy to be allowed to do this specific project with Microsoft and Asobo. So I've been a programmer all my life, didn't do much else. So that's pretty much all you need to know about me.
Fantastic. Well, I know everyone is definitely itching for an update on the ATR. So
yes,
let's hear a little bit about that.
So, yes, the project started earlier this year, as you might know. We are currently in the middle of everything, so it's not yet in any testing phase, and I certainly cannot talk about any kind of release date. So everything you see here is preliminary, and it might or might not change before the product is ready for release. So the first, let's start with what is in there. That would be 3 different models: the ATR 42-600 passenger version, the ATR 72-600 passenger version, and also the 72-600F freighter version. Can you go to the next slide?
Yes.
Jane? Okay, so let's start with the exterior model. Everything is built to state of the art. Everything is animated. Doors are animated. Even the little document flap near the captain's side window. We included the new LED lights. and yeah, that's pretty much about the exterior model. The freighter and the passenger versions, of course, have different models for this. Yes. Next is the interior model. That's the same level of detail as the exterior model. We, for the first time in an official plane, let's say it like this, a walkable cabin is included. This goes for the freighter version as well as the normal passenger version. Everything that opens or closes is animated, is usable. Also sun visors, the usual armrests, and even the document door, which is all included. The aircraft has an electronic flight bag, which is not visible in this picture. And this might make hardware designers or people who will try to connect hardware quite happy. Everything, all controls will be accessible through local VARs. So you're not limited to the actual events that are available in the controls options, in the control options. So, okay. Yes, can we go to the next one?
Yes.
Flight dynamics. The flight model, like so many other aircraft I have been involved in, has been made by Alexander Metzger once more. I cannot say much to this specific thing because I don't have and there's not really any data I can give you. It's the PW127M engine that's simulated, and the flight model, of course, based on the modern flight model, and this includes realistic ITT behavior, realistic fuel flow, and so on, all within a few percent of real values. Okay, and then the last one.
Okay.
This is about the systems. So first, everything is up to latest ATR standards, which is called STD3. The checklist system is absolutely completely included, as you can see in the screenshot. This is an example from the takeoff checklist. What also is included are the latest changes or updates to the ATR models, namely the NAMS pressurization system, and the latest digital gauges for cabin temperature and I think landing elevation as well. The aircraft has a fully implemented Thales FMS 220 system, like the real one, 2 MCDUs in this case. ATR provided us with a ton of PDF documents, which really are really an extensive documentation, pretty much more than anyone could read during the development time, but it's very, very helpful. Of course, we will include what's already been announced, that will be a terrain awareness system and a weather radar. So, as I said, we are on a good way. The project is on schedule, but it's a little early to talk about release dates or something similar yet. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty much all I can say about it right now.
Yes, I'm seeing already a lot of questions in chat. I don't know which ones you can and can't answer at this point, but everyone seems really excited.
Well, we should say, Hans, can you speak to how close the relationship is with ATR?
Very close. Actually, this is the second time I personally work with ATR, and we are in permanent direct contact with them.
Nice.
And we get information. We can ask questions directly, even if something is not clear from the FCOM or any other documentation. So that's pretty nice.
That's awesome. Yeah, I see a question of, is it going to be a high fidelity plane? I hope it's going.
Yes, it will be.
Okay.
There was another question that I think is worth talking about. Is this going to be on Xbox, Hans?
I would say yes. It depends a bit on the WebAssembly thing on Xbox. If that is solved, the ATR will be no problem. We're doing absolutely everything to SDK specifications, so Xbox users can get the ATR as well.
And I don't know if you can answer this one. Will it be making use of CFD, soft body, and new prop physics, etc.?
Yes, it will be. It will work based on the latest updates, flight dynamics wise.
Fantastic question. Who's making this? Asobo? Hans Hartman.
And Asobo. That's right.
Asobo, Hans Hartman, Alexander Metzger, and Benjamin Erd.
Awesome. Okay. So, thank you for that update. Of course, we can't share any details on any kind of release or cadence at the moment, but it's great to see the work that's been done so far in the ATR. Thank you so much, Hans, for joining us for that update. I'm sure I appreciate it. Chat appreciates it. Thank you.
Thank you too. Bye.
Thanks.
All right, moving on to our Dev Q&A session 2 here. All right, it's got some really great questions. We'll start one from the forums, but chat, feel free to chime in on your questions as well. Number one question here is the team planning to add camera shake at touchdown? This effect is missing from the sim and would be very important. Seb.
Yes, sim update 10 is going to have a camera shake at touchdown. And it was really a small change. So we already have a full camera physics with inertia and all sorts of physics actuation. It's just that the parameters were tuned very. It was very soft and not visible at all. So we tuned it a little bit better so that so we didn't want to break the experience when you pull a lot of G's, which is also a vertical force. We also want to keep the cockpit usable or readable. So you have now I would say a much more noticeable shake if you do I would say a kiss landing. But if you do a hard landing, it's a much bigger shake of the camera. So that's going to be sim of the 10. It's being tested right now.
Very cool. And will this be like a default built-in option, or it will be a toggle type thing, or it'll just happen?
Yeah, it's the same. I mean, it was already there. It was just tuned so soft that nobody could notice it.
Yeah.
I think it was like maybe a 1 millimeter shake or something. Now it's 2 centimeters, which is, I would say, what your head would do if you impact, right? So
very cool. Question here is DLSS coming with sim update 10? You seemed unsure, just curious.
It's been tested. So far, it's running well. So if it's the process we were talking about, because we don't want to rush, because sometimes we were pretty confident about some features and on different configurations or different use cases, it was not a good thing. So we are going to push that. It's going to be flighted. And if everybody is pleased, it's going to be pushed to everybody. But we don't want to rush that. It could be a disaster for some user. Hopefully it will not.
Yeah.
So as soon as we can, and as soon as it has been validated by the test plan we've got.
Okay. Thanks, Martial. I do see just this general question here. Can we get more info on Sim Update 10? And I would say we're planning on going into more detail on Sim Update 10 in our coming Q&As if we get a little bit closer to it.
Okay. Maybe I can give more details.
Sure.
So some of the features that have been asked are implemented, and we're doing some testing right now.
Yeah.
This is worth for the multi-screen, for instance. We talked about the LSS. We're working also hard on DirectX 12, so we can get the performances we are having on DirectX 11. For the moment, I think we are off about something like 20%. We're working on WASM. We're working on a new cloud logic that will bring more resolution next to the ground. We are doing some improvement on bush trips. We're doing something important also for accessibility. So we are doing some modification on the UI on the main menu, so people can use the main menu with the D-pad, which is super important for an accessibility point of view. We are also improving the screen reader for that for accessibility too. We have added some keys. Some people are asking to be able to remove just by pressing one key the ribbon or the name of the cities, all the information that we are displaying, and this has been done. The name plates, the sticker with the names. We're working with working title for bringing some VFR map improvements and some improvement also on the NXI.
Awesome.
This is basically the kind of thing we want to bring.
Great, thank you, Martial.
So there's some questions. When does the flight start? Pretty soon.
Yep.
It's kind of what I said earlier. We might extend it. So we had a date in mind for Sim Update 10, and we might move it by a few weeks to allow for enough flighting. There's a bunch of really meaty features coming with it, and we need this to be thoroughly tested by everybody.
Okay. That's good to know. Thank you. And,
I'm pretty sure I've missed something. It's basically what's in there.
Oh, the bush trips came up earlier, right? So bush trips, we heard.
Bush trips.
It was early.
I talked about that. Yes.
Yeah. There's quite a bit of things. We are aware that they're unfortunately pretty broken. So a lot of maybe not 100% of all bugs are fixed, because of some of them are so fringy, but most of them are.
That is awesome to hear. Thank you, Jorg. And speaking of Sim Update 10, question here. You said in the last Q&A you might be able to give more details about multi-monitor support. Will it be present in Sim Update 10 or a basic feature?
So at least it will be present in the flight link, because it's done for the rendering part. We're still having sometimes some issues with the interaction model when it's split on multiple screen, but it will be definitely in the flight link, and we are going to gather some feedbacks there, and if it's working well enough, if it can be shared with everybody, will be pushed in Sim Update 10. Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks, Martial. All right, a foreign question here. It says, wind gusts are missing from live weather at the moment. When will gusts be implemented? Yep.
Sim Update 10. So we're testing it right now. We're injecting the live weather gusts values from either the live weather data coming from Meteoblue, or if there is a meta close which has gust data. So the issue is that I tested it today quite extensively. Today there was 3 or 4 airports which had gusts, like Dodge City Airport, Atlanta, that were in France. There was none. So there is not always gust data in metas, maybe because they're too small. So when there's no data, we use the other live weather data source, which has gust information, and it's actually pretty close to what metas are saying when there's a meta. And if there's metadata, we're blending it in when you're, I would say, close to the airport, close to the ground seamlessly. And it works pretty well. So the only difference, I would say, and it's important for the flighting, is that, well, it's going to add gusts to live weather. So that's so I remember a little bit the turbulence issue, which has been added also. So here, if there is gusts in the region in live weather, well, you're gonna have gusts, and sometimes gusts can be pretty. Dodge City this morning had 11 knots or 12 knots wind, and gusts at close to 30 knots, and it's pretty hard to land when you have that much wind. So it just we'll have to do a little bit of tests. I don't know if it's going to cause a problem or not, because when gusts are too strong in live weather, the only thing you can do is go to a preset. We don't have an option right now to turn them off. I think in the weather menu. So maybe that's something we may have to do now that we have gusts. We'll see.
Cool. Thank you, Seb.
I missed something because I've seen the topic on the forum, on the chat. On Simulated 10, we're also getting an option that allows you to trigger on and off the fact that you want the plane next to you being hidden or not. So for those who want to do some close flights and
yes, the ghosting.
Yes.
Okay.
This would be yeah. There will be an option to turn that on or off.
That's awesome. Slightly related to that, I think a question here is: could we re-explore the potential for private servers or perhaps bigger group sizes in the future? We have sensitive events that would benefit to partition away from those who try to ruin the fun for others. We had a really great event on Sunday and a few griefers on there. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I'm not sure I've understood. I'm sorry.
It's the private sessions. I think it's currently limited to 8, right?
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, it's something we need to look into.
Yes, on the network layer.
Yep.
Want to do some improvements there. We're working on that.
Okay, thank you. And another chat question here. The overwhelming majority of issues I see on the forums are about stuttering, performance segregation on long-haul flights, and low frame rates while on the ground. Can you acknowledge and respond to these issues and what the future is for these issues?
So I think we already responded to these on the previous Q&A and the one before. We said I think our Q&A is doing a lot of long-haul flights. I've done a few myself. I didn't get any slowdowns, stutters, whatsoever. So I think we're still investigating. Marcel, I don't know if you have a cause or something.
Well, we know about one thing. We think it's related to the VFR map. We know that. So that's,
I didn't open that.
That is the best lead we have so far.
Yeah.
And that's been looked at.
Yes, and just to tell you, we've got like a wall of builds running, even very next to my office. There's Xboxes and PCs running the game with long flags all the time, so we can gather information and try to find the issues.
Yeah. Great, thank you.
Yeah, I think there's another thing. We are going to also look a little bit more into third-party add-ons. Because we have a system in place that is sort of handling it when you run low on memory, but we need to really look into this more. Because I have some real worries about this, that there's some, we see some airports that are like 8 gigabyte. It's not quite clear how that is going to be a smooth frame rate experience. So we're going to spend more time.
Okay. Great, thank you so much. Another forum question here. Do we get an ATC overhaul together with the redesign of the AI traffic system?
Overall, I would say that we are still trying to add layers of improvements. So now we're working on improving the vectoring, not for Simulated 10, but just after, so just to improve the ATC vectoring, and also. We want to make use of the MSA data. The MSA is for minimum safe altitude, so that should be including on the flight point informations, and it will change the way the ATC is using the the flight plans also. So layers of improvements, no reboots, I would say.
Yeah. Okay. Great question on chat following our performance discussion. Is there an open telemetry mode or flag that we could set to help submit quality data to assist in various issues and bugs versus just a text summary or the steps to repro?
We are already collecting some telemetry. We are trying to put new informations in the crash dumps. So when people are enabling the fact that we can collect the crash dumps, we'll try to get more information from that. I think we talked about that during the last Q&A. So we're already collecting some data, but it's the best way of improving something is to get some repro steps. Once we are getting repro steps, it's fair. A, it's super easy for us to repro the issue, and B, once it has been fixed, it's super easy for us to check that it has been fixed. And those repro, those repro steps, it's not something you can guess from collecting telemetry, or it should be like super precise telemetry, close to a video capture, I would say. So it helps, but it's not the ultimate solution.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Seb, can you explain what factors are currently taken into account in thermal updraft model, and what are the future plans for realistic soaring weather?
Yeah. So in Semivit 9, it computes the amount of watts energy received by the sun, so which will depend on if it's day and night, how high the sun is in the sky, how thick of an atmosphere is crossed by the sunlight, if it's humid or whatever, if there's haze, etc. If there's clouds. And so at the end, there's an amount of watts remaining that hits the ground at a certain angle. And then you know how much energy you get. Then it calculates all sorts of things like how dark, albedo, basically, how much energy is reflected, how much is kept. This transforms into heat, and then you know how much basically your ground is heating up. When your ground is significantly warmer than the air, it builds up hot air, which then wants to go up, and here you have your thermals. Right now, this is Semivit 9. What we are adding with Semivit 10 is to make this a little bit more comfortable. We are blending in the wind factor so that when you have absolutely zero wind, you will get less thermals. I know there's been a lot of requests when we added thermals that, hey, I'm putting wind to 0 or just 1. How come I get so much thermals? So now when you're below, when you have low wind speeds, the thermals are going to be much less than before. If you want strong thermals, put at least 5 knots of wind or something. You don't have to put a lot, right? It's just enough, just not close to 0. We also made these turbulences a little bit weaker at higher altitudes, like I would say 20,000 and above. You will see less thermals. In Semivit 10, you will see more gusts, however, so be careful because we fixed the gusts. And something we're currently working on, but that will be not for Semivit 10. The problem with this system is that it's really working very locally and generates local thermals that don't combine when they go up and create like the air which goes up somewhere else. It needs to go back down. It doesn't create any vortices, turbulences on the side of thermals, anything like that yet. So there's a research work going on which basically took the CFD of the airplanes and expanded that 20-ish kilometers around the plane. So that's a really very, 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 very big CFD running, and it goes pretty high as well. And we hope that sometime this year we'll get that to basically manage to simulate those airflows in the atmosphere to get nicer updrafts, nicer wind that can combine so that only bigger fields get updrafts when you are going higher up, that you get vortices with air going back down, and all sorts of different local wind effects that we don't really get from live weather, right? Live weather gives us wind gust and direction, but it's something a bit more for the area and not really, you can't What?
What's going on?
How are you?
Oh, what?
Live
I
update.
think you experiment what I had last session, right? Somebody asking you to leave. That's perfect.
Yes, more than likely. That's all right. You okay, Seb?
He's
He
unhappy now.
he can stay in the building. Hey Seb, there was a question about thermals taking snow into account. Do you want
It takes the ground albedo. I don't know if it has the snow layer. We will have to check that. And also, you already have mountains going up and down, like when the wind hits the hill, which will also get improved once we have a more broader simulation. But that currently doesn't occur.
Okay.
Yeah. So sim update 11 maybe, or but not 10. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Seb. All right, next question. The simulator makes use of plane substitution systems, replacing a multiplayer plane that the player doesn't own with a model currently on the player's PC or Xbox. Currently, many planes end up as a TBM or Bonanzas, despite sometimes owning the same plane or even same liveries. Are there plans for Sobo to revisit the system or integrate it with the upcoming AI database of plane models and airline liveries?
So yeah, we know that we've got to improve the systems, and
Yes.
especially for the moment, if you're using FA-18 or some other jets, it's really not good. So we know that we've got to work on that. It's always the same kind of patterns that we were talking about between bringing new stuff and fixing, but we know that we've got to improve the systems.
Great, thank you. Last forum question here. Can we have a restore or backup feature for graphics and sim settings, profiles, and camera views? As we've all experienced, sometimes sim and world updates do funny things. So it would be great if we could reset to repair those settings, profiles, or views.
So yes, it's something we would like to bring. The problem is if we are doing that with the system we're having right now, it will not be compliant, and we will still have to improve the way we are doing the synchronization on the cloud and between PCs and consoles. So if we do that, it will have to be a drastic change. So it's needed to be thought and be very careful. So, but we've read the thread with Damien, and we think it's super interesting, and it's definitely something we would like to bring in the future.
Yeah.
But I mean, actually, because I see it in the forums, this is the balance, right? People ask for new things, and I think it's totally legitimate to say, hey, there are some things that are broken right now. Go fix those first. And I mean, I just want to say we all agree. We want to have a perfectly stable, high frame rate, no stutters sim before we add more stuff. So, for example, somebody was asking about airplanes and air traffic. We've modeled a ton, a ton of different models. But if we just add them now, it's just going to make certain things worse. We need to understand at root cause, as somebody just correctly said, what are some of the things that are actually detracting the experience right now before we keep adding more stuff.
Great. Thank you, Jorg and Martial. And bonus question here for you, Seb. I know, what are some improvements that are coming for ground friction and handling? I know you mentioned some new parameters.
Yes, so 4 new parameters coming in Sim Update 10. So basically 2 of them are going to give the possibility to eliminate or at least tune, but we decided to cancel it out on our plane where we tested it. Basically, a old feature that we kept from FSX. FSX was canceling out all crosswind below a certain speed. I think it was maybe 50 knots or something. So at 50 knots, you had 100% crosswind, and then it was fading out to 10 knots, and then it was 0. The problem with that is that basically while you take off or land, the crosswind keeps changing, and it's very unnatural. So this is something where you can now per plane in the parameters for the plane say at what speeds you want this to happen. And so on the Cessna 172, we're testing this. So we basically canceled the effect completely. So you have a 100% crosswind even if you're parked and or even you go very slow. So if there's a lot of wind, it can actually spin your plane around, of course. But so that's one of the new parameters. And the other one, 2 parameters are there to allow you to control basically how sticky your wheels are when they're rolling fast. So basically, when you're already going pretty fast during the takeoff, the sim was considering the wheels to be pretty much on rails, as if they were, I don't know, slick tires from a Formula One car or something. Very sticky. And only the weight, so if you pull on the yoke, your plane gets a bit lighter, and the weight goes down, which reduces friction a little bit, but it's still static. So it means that as long as you don't push to the side strong enough, you're still on rails. And so what we did is there's 2 parameters now which allow you to basically make it so that the plane drifts off, because basically the wheel is spinning. So if you push to the side, it's going to drift off a little bit, especially with plain tires, which are not, I mean, they're not anything but I would say racing tires. And so we tested that more specifically on tail draggers, where it makes them, so I mean, tail draggers will always be hard to land and take off, but it's a lot more natural and easy with that. So this is something we implemented on the Extra 330 for the sim update 10. And so that, I mean, also plane makers have examples on how this works so that they can use it too. And then we will deploy on more based on feedback. This is a first step. These 4 parameters are first step on improving the ground handling. So more stuff will come after, but sim update 10 is going to be these 4.
Great, thank you so much, Seb. We do have a question about the Local Legend 4 status update, so I think it's a great transition.
Oh yeah, I've been looking through my emails because so the plane is done, and it's been done for a few weeks now, actually. And to our great surprise, Leonardo, who owns the license, has not signed the license agreement, which we've been talking about for over a year. So we are all a little bit surprised. Mike, who's been killing himself to get the plane in a great state, is sort of like, what's happening? So we think it's a day-to-day thing. I'm literally expecting it any moment, because they've said they have 2 people that need to sign it at Leonardo, and we're waiting for the second signature, I think. So it's and then we have to make a decision to put it on a Tuesday. Obviously, it missed the coinciding with what update 9 Italy in Malta. So it's imminent. I just can't give you a date.
No worries. Thank you for the update. We appreciate that, though.
Leonardo, the Italian conglomerate that basically owns most Italian planes, not Leonardo Softhouse now.
Okay, thank you. We are on our roadmap slide here, Jorg, if there's anything else you wanted to talk through on this.
I just wanted to actually say that about the
okay.
Local Legend. I'm like, well, the plane is done. It's quite fun. I mean, our test department actually gave a very positive assessment of it. So it's coming. And I would just encourage you. So we just obviously did a lot of updates with what update 9, sim update 9, and now Maverick today. June is going to be interesting. So pay some attention to what happens in the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 3 weeks.
Absolutely.
But see, I don't know if Jane, if you want to spend a few more minutes answering some of these questions. I see so many questions not quite getting answered, and always bums me out. Do you want to spend 15 minutes? Jeb, do you have time?
It depends on if Seb and Marcel have time.
Very little.
Yes, I think Seb is just.
It's really late in France. Just that you don't know.
It is. We did get an interesting question. There are definitely more questions on the forums. We usually, pick certain top amount. Question was, would there be any way they could get text answers or replies in there if there's some interesting questions you want to answer post these Q&As?
what we do. I mean, just for all of you on here, like Jane typically sends me, because I'm reading. So I'm obviously trying to read it while we're going, but then she sent the log, and I read it all again. And I have no hesitation to answer some of the stuff on the forum somewhere.
Okay.
It ought to be answered. That's why everybody's here, right? We just can't. I mean, it's physically impossible to get through it all.
Right. Okay. Sounds like we should probably wrap it up then, so Seth can get off to his next appointment. But We appreciate you, chat. We'll try to follow up, perhaps in the forums, with a couple more answers here to some great questions we're seeing. But until then, we hope you have a fantastic rest of May, and we will see you a month or so from now. We hope you enjoy, of course, the new Top Gun DLC as well. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Great to see everybody. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.